3, 2, roll action. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is episode 4 of the Southern Utah Hockey Report. I'm Gabe Goche. We got Tommy Rupp here with us as well. Jersey Day. So as you can see, we are sporting our team jerseys. Mine's authentic. It's game worn.
And mine is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things. The reason for the jerseys. One is University of Denver. We had our 75th hockey anniversary reception alumni weekend, which I wasn't able to attend. So wearing this in honor of them. But then for the Iron County Yeti, we had a jersey night. So so
Sweet.
people that had a jersey of any kind got a free Chuck-a-Puck, and we'll talk about that because the Chuck-a-Puck was awesome. We got some cool sponsors and donations from that, but I'm just happy to talk hockey more and be back with you. It's been a long week, but it's been a fun week. So we got some good updates here. Obviously, we're going to talk about Utah Hockey Club and Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to touch on the Yeti and then also Red Rock ball hockey. And then, of course, we're going to go over the rules of the game. And today we're going to focus in on line changes and just the positioning of the line changes and having home ice. So to jump into the first segment here, Tommy, we got first. Let's start off with Utah Hockey Club.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where are they currently sitting in the standings, and who are a couple of players right now to kind of highlight?
Yeah, so I think they're right outside of that wild card playoff picture. I know, pretty much each game goes by, the teams just kind of rotate depending on who wins, just because we're so early in the season. Tough week for Utah all around, honestly. They were shut out twice, 2 out of their 3 games. The shutout to Winnipeg, you kind of understand. Winnipeg's a powerhouse right now, and everyone kind of knows that. So they responded well against St. Louis. Some key teams key players that stood out in that. More Maverick Lamoureux, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Matthias Michelli got going as well, which is always good to see. Get those contributions, but then unfortunately they played the Predators last night and ultimately fell short 4-0. And it just looks like we are missing not only consistency, but maybe 1 or 2 more just key scoring players. Guys that I think of that I think we really should be, after, especially early on in the market. If we have the cap space, which we do, if we have the draft picks that we can trade, you might as well bring in a scorer now so the team can get used to him. I look at a guy like Nazem Kadri out of Calgary.
Yeah.
Friendly cap number, proven goal scorer, and not only that, he's won a Stanley Cup as well.
Yeah,
so
he's got that veteran leadership as well too, and also you touched on it perfectly because the team needs some scoring power right now, and I know being on the road, it's tough, to adjust, but going and getting shut out 2 out of 3 games, not good for scoring power, but then only goal scorers, touching that stick a little bit better. Because November 13th is going to be rolling around pretty quick for the Hurricanes to come in. So
absolutely.
Vegas, how do you see them right now? I see them as a powerhouse right now.
It's all systems to go there. They only had 2 games this week. They started off with the Oilers, which they won pretty handily, 4-2. The only downside to that game is you did see Mark Stone go out with an injury, so we'll keep an eye on that. I know all the long-term injury reserve fans are probably looking at that with kind of a suspicious eye, but I hope he's doing well in all seriousness.
Was that considered did they label it upper body, lower body, or did they they say what
I haven't seen the report yet, but just watching the play, because he actually injured it on the empty net. He was going for the puck, nice feed out from his Vegas teammates there, and you could just tell he almost went to stretch and something tweaked with his back issues that he's had in the past. I'm sure that plays a giant factor into this injury, and so the only thing we can do is kind of monitor that day by day. They did fall to the Kraken, but it wasn't overtime. They did get the point, and honestly, there's not much that I'm worried about with the Vegas Golden Knights. They seem to have 4 lines that are going. Again, Dorofeev strikes again. Another great prospect coming up. Jack Eichel's leading the way as always. And Noah Hannafin has entered the chat, folks. The last 3 games, he has been a major difference maker, and you can definitely tell.
What do you think that difference has been for Hannafin?
I think just getting used to it. Obviously, he came over from Calgary late in the year last season. It takes a little while just to get adjusted, especially you're coming from a Canadian market to a Vegas market, which some would argue has probably not equal pressure as a Canadian market, but certainly a winning mentality that's got to take a toll on the mental game every now and again. He's still a young guy. I think it just took him a little while to get going, find a little bit of a groove, but he's one of the best offensive defensemen in the league. I think if he's going, you're going to have to watch out in this Western Conference because Vegas is literally coming for you no matter what.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And just to transition back to Utah Hockey Club, we talked about, there's the scoring power or lack thereof. They had this most recent road trip. What do you feel they need to do, Tommy, in order to get back into that scoring mentality that they were before?
Honestly, I think the game is simple, and Andre Turigny has them playing a very good game right now. Their systems are sound. They've got a lot of young guys that know how to put in the work, everything like that. Learning how to play the game and learning how to win are two very different things, and especially in the NHL, you're going to get exposed a lot when you don't know how to win. Now, granted, Utah's new. There's a lot of things that are new this season, but ultimately, we have a giant pool of prospects. We have a lot of future players in this. I think it's going to come down to veteran leadership. Guys like Mikhail Sergachev are going to have to step up just a little bit, lead that way, put that Stanley Cup mentality into the locker room and have that translate out into the ice. Another thing I would like to see is just a little bit more grit, a little bit more size. We're going to have to go to the net if we want the dirty goals, and that's where games are won and lost in the playoffs. And if we, like I think we are shaping up for the playoffs, we're going to need to get a little bit more gritty in front of the net, get some ugly ones. And ultimately, you stack a few of those, you get some momentum, all of a sudden you win 3 in a row, something like that, and something can turn around pretty quick.
Absolutely. And with that too, and just going through and seeing what Utah Hockey Club has done, and Dylan Guenther, he was once star of the week, offensive player of the week. And, those are the things that need to come back around and getting into a consistent rhythm. And these players are now at that point where you're professional. And, with Dylan Guenther and Sergachev, as you mentioned, like some of these guys have some of that veteran leadership to be consistent night in and night out, whether you're on the road or at home. And that's really one of the defining aspects of being a pro at the most elite level, and then, at the amateur level. But that's one thing I feel Utah has to kind of not so much overcome, but they just need to start being more consistent in their gameplay, because they do have all of those pieces. It just needs to come together a little bit more.
Well, and I think they're going to have 2 very good opportunities to show what they are truly made of this week. Like Gabe said, they face the Hurricanes, and then after the Hurricanes, you have the Vegas Golden Knights coming to Salt Lake. So it's going to be a busy week for the Utah Hockey Club. I think they're going to have an extra hard week of practice, and I think Andre's going to have them ready to play. Will they seize the moment or seize the opportunity? I hope so.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want to get into a little predictions here?
Yeah.
What do you think? Predictions. Who's going to win, and what do you think the score is going to be?
For the Vegas and the Utah Hockey Club.
Let's first go November 13th. So Utah Hockey Club will play the Hurricanes. What do you think? Because they need to bounce back. What do you think there?
Carolina they had Freddie Anderson go down. So you have Peter Kochetkov, who's going to come in and back him up. Maybe you can get into his head a little bit. Carolina is another one of those teams that they're always an Eastern Conference powerhouse. I will say this. I think it'll be a low-scoring game just because I do think defensively we are very sound. I don't think defense is necessarily our issue. It's more offense. And if we can contain the offensive power that the Carolina Hurricanes have, I suspect that game like a 3-2 overtime kind of game, or maybe a 2-1 in regulation. I lean a little bit in favor of the Hurricanes just because they are kind of running on all cylinders right now. But it's a good test nonetheless.
So you're going Hurricanes 2-1?
Hurricanes 2-1.
Okay. I love the analysis because again, this is why I love working with you, because it's like a second brain, But anyway, I agree. It's going to be a very low-scoring game. I'm going to go in the favor of Utah Hockey Club because, again, they're coming off a bad road trip.
Right.
Like you said, Andre's going to put them through the ringer, make these guys realize, hey, again, we're professionals. We need to get back on track. Coming back to home at the Delta Center, it's going to be a 3-2 win Utah Hockey Club.
I like that.
So,
I like the optimism.
Yeah. And then bouncing back to Friday. So with that, the Vegas Golden Knights, they're coming off that overtime loss at T-Mobile Arena. Now coming back to the Delta Center. Again, I just feel it's going to be one of those games. They're going to win against Carolina, and it's going to be a gritty, low-scoring game, but they're going to come out with that win. And then, to be honest, I think they're going to have that momentum and then shock Vegas once they come here. So that's what I see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, these are the statement games that you have to come up and play for. And like I said, I think people are underestimating the rivalry that truly exists between these two teams.
Yeah.
You saw it with the fight in Keegan Colasar and Jack McBain the first game.
Yeah.
I guarantee you will see another fight in this game. It's just a feeling that I get. I don't know if that's at the hands of Liam O'Brien, but
yeah,
something like that. It's going to be a gritty game. And again, I don't know if it'll be low scoring necessarily, but it'll certainly be tight in the long run. But I do have Utah winning that game. I think the home ice advantage pushes them through. And I also think it's one of those wins that probably gets things going in the right direction that really sends a message in the locker room moving forward.
No, you're absolutely right. And especially with the rivalries too, is that, the thing we can't forget is the Utah Hockey Club has been an established franchise.
Correct.
So it's basically all the Coyotes and then some players that come over from free agency. But that rivalry has been established with the Coyotes organization, and now it just transferred to a new name and a new franchise name and a new location. So awesome point. So as we are continuing to talk about hockey, right, we're going to transition and move into the Yeti with the Iron County and the U20. And this is where awesome weekend for the team overall. We actually picked up 4 new kids from other teams. I wouldn't say in so much trades. It was just they were unhappy with that current situation, just needed a different environment, right? And that's the thing. And in this level, and as I mentioned before, we're in development hockey. So tier 3 is development junior hockey. And that's where we want kids that are going to be excelling not only in the classroom, but on the ice to their best ability. Right. And that's where we're going to continue to take those things and enhance on that and give them those tools to be better. But Friday night is a great night. We had over 270 fans at the game there. So that was a lot of fun. They ended up winning 5-2 against the Colorado Fighting Elk. And then today, it was an afternoon game. Great game. It was a lot of back and forth. We ended up scoring to take the lead with about 1:19 left. And then a breakdown, penalty, 6-on-4, went to overtime, and then Colorado ended up taking it in overtime. But Tommy, we were talking about before, and this is where I want to ask you and give some insight to our listeners and also to our young listeners that are hockey players, right?
Sure.
Because we know that they're watching and they're listening. Talk about that pride of ownership of the puck, and especially ownership of the puck in a critical time, especially when you're up in the game and there's a few minutes left on the clock. Just talk about having that pride of puck possession.
I mean, the best way I could explain it is that's really how you separate the high caliber teams from maybe the teams that get like their mistakes get in their own way, and these are the little things that drive coaches nuts. So to all the kids that are listening out there, not only do you have the responsibility of your personal accountability, but also understanding how those individual decisions are going to overall affect the team. And when you're in those key moments, like I said, Colorado's on the road. They got nothing to lose.
Right.
The more oxygen that you allow them to breathe in your environment, the more opportunity they're going to have just to steal games away. And these are points that are very important. But especially if you're a developmental player and you want to know what's going to take you to the next level, that's where the hockey IQ comes in. Hockey IQ is a term that you will hear quite often, not only in the NHL, but throughout the sport entirely. It is what separates kind of what scouts are looking for versus, other things like goals, assists, points, defensive, it's a mentality. It's, can we trust you while you're out there? If the answer to that question is yes, not only are you going to get more playing time, but you're also going to be in more opportunistic moments of big time games. That transitions to big wins transition to championships, and championships get jobs.
Absolutely. So. And you hit the nail on the head with the one word is trust, right? Is as a player, you want your coach to trust that when you're out there, you're going to do the job. And sometimes those players actually make a career of being a shutdown player in critical moments, because it is also a mindset of being able to bear down and know that you have to do that job. So, and that's the thing, is just lessons learned. Coach Todd Renee is going to talk to the kids. They're going to go over video. We talked about that too, is just, the little things make a big difference, and they saw it tonight. But you know what? They can bounce back. And that's the best thing too about playing hockey is you get another game, right? You get another game. So with that, the Iron County Yeti will be facing off against the Henderson Force. This will be coming up on Friday, November 15th. Now, a few things on that day is the Southern Utah Independent High School Hockey. So their JV team is going to be playing before the Iron County Yeti. So we're going to be doing high school night.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so it's going to be high school night. We're going to be, recognizing Parowan High School, Cedar High, and also Canyon View.
Okay.
So students that are part of those schools that have a school ID will get $5 admission to the Iron County Yeti game.
Sweet.
So yeah, and then we also have a lot of chuck-a-pucks and events that are going on. And I talked to you about this before too, is just the support we had during the game. So I just want to give some shout outs to some of our supporters that we had for the chuck-a-puck, because it was amazing. One, just talking to the business owners, being able to get on their level and connect and do cross promotion, but then also letting them know that there's an ice rink in town, right? And that's the thing. A lot of businesses didn't know that there was a hockey rink. KJ's Iceburn didn't, they didn't know it existed. And then of course, having a hockey team, they didn't know. So Pork Bellies, awesome place. I haven't eaten there yet, but just the smell of the brisket and the ribs was amazing. Central Pizza, this place is amazing. They've actually ranked in the top 100 in best pizza places in America.
And I believe it, because I've had some myself, and it is absolutely to die for. Every time I'm in Cedar, that's where I stop.
Exactly. So thank you, Central Pizza. Cedar Fun Center gave us free movie tickets.
Awesome.
Main Street Barber, some free haircuts, or $4 off haircuts. Ganoshed, another awesome place in Cedar, a dessert place, gave us some free brownies.
Perfect.
The Grind Coffee, Bristle Cone Coffee, Red Rock Bicycles. This was huge. They gave us 3 gift certificates, $25 gift cards to Red Rock Bicycles. And so we handed those out as grand prizes for our chuck-a-puck. And then a Megaloaf sourdough. So awesome places.
Perfect.
Like I said, just amazing support. But it was great to have everyone participate. Also recognize the small businesses that we work with too. So it was a great weekend. And then, like I said, next weekend, Friday, we're going to be doing high school night. So we'll be promoting and celebrating the high schools around Iron County. So
perfect.
Cedar, Parowan, and Canyon View.
No, you can't beat that. And yeah, a huge shout out to everyone who helps donate these things. Like one of my favorite quotes, as always, as you guys know, I'm a big quote guy, is the things we do today create the opportunities for tomorrow. And so no donation goes unnoticed. These are huge things. These are, small steps that ultimately lead to giant leaps. And so for people taking not only their time, their money, and giving it to help grow the sport, can't thank you enough. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. It was awesome. And then the other thing too is talk to a lot of people that were, thinking about getting involved. And so a lot of great community involvement that we saw this weekend. And with that too, I just want to ask, did you have the opportunity to play high school hockey? Or
I did.
Okay, yeah. So and this is great too, because the reason why we're doing that promotion is to let these kids know that hockey's coming to town.
Right.
There's an ice rink there, and so it's like, I'm not a mathematician, but when you have an ice rink, you're going to have a hockey team.
Correct.
So, and then if you have high schools, you're going to have a high school team.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about, because I actually never played traditional high school hockey. So tell me about your experience and just what that means to Southern Utah.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you what, if I was to categorize any of my playing days, obviously junior holds a lot of weight in my heart, but I will tell you this: I was absolutely spoiled in high school hockey. So I am an alumni of the Murray Spartans. Murray is a small little neighborhood in the Salt Lake area. We had one of the most prestigious hockey programs back in the day. There was a time, I believe the record was 82-0 over 4 consecutive seasons.
That's amazing.
And all of those resulting in state championships. Obviously, when I'm a freshman and I joined, that's when our skills started kind of going the other way. We had a lot of powerhouse teams, and I was fortunate enough. I did get to play in a state championship. That was one of the coolest moments of my life. We did lose in overtime, so that was a tough second place loss to take. But I will tell you this: the fans of Murray were absolutely incredible. There are people that I still talk to this day that I played high school hockey against.
Yep.
And every time that they saw our name on the schedule, that if they had to go to our ice rink in Murray, because we had our own ice rink there in Murray. It was the County Ice Center that was put there because of the result of the 2002 Olympics as a practice facility. We absolutely packed that place to the brim. Even so much so, there was one year where someone may or may not have taken the Brighton mascot head, and we saved it for a very important game. And once we had to play Brighton in that game, at one point our fans were tossing the Brighton Bengal head around in the stands during the middle of the game. It was an awesome environment, and honestly, like, everyone just was so supportive of one another. All the teams that we played, like, obviously Brighton's on the other end of that, but they were still some of the best people throughout the organization, throughout the state. All the general managers there, they made it so fun for us. And now that we're expanding down into the southern area, that's an opportunity for you guys to come and create the same kind of experiences, the same kind of memories. And one day you will be thinking back on it and you go, man, I wish I could go back to that.
Absolutely. Now, the championship games, did you play those in the Maverick Center, or was that where do you remember where you played those?
I do, yeah. So the one we played in the Steiner Ice Arena, so that was a double sheet that's up near the University of Utah. That was also put there as a result of the 2002 Olympics. So one was an Olympic sheet, one was a standard sheet, and the Olympic size rinks back then were a little bit bigger. And we were on the Olympic rink, and ironically, there was a kid that came over from Sweden to play on my travel team that was playing on the high school against me, and he's the one who got the game winner in overtime. So you best believe the next time I went to practice, I had to hear about that in the worst broken English possible, and I don't know if that made it worse or what, but I'll tell you what, it was well-deserved. Shout out Timpanogos. You guys deserve that one, and that's a tough second place meal for me to eat. But you know what? Still fun nonetheless.
It is awesome. Yeah, no, and I love it too because you can just see the memories come back, as you start to talk about it, and then that's the joy that we're starting to build. With the Southern Utah just hockey movement, starting with KJ's Ice Barn, and then it's just going to continue to snowball from there. And it all starts too, like how are kids getting involved? And we've talked about Red Rock ball hockey, which has been amazing so far. We're coming to the tail end of the season. Just give us a couple updates. We got a couple weeks left, and then a big weekend.
Yep, correct. Yeah, so we will be hosting our championship week this week, which is pretty cool. So the teams that we have in those, we have the Cubs and the Crowns, we have the Counts and the Aliens, the Solar Bears and the Novas, the Goldbirds and the Maulers, and then we have the Yetis and the Rougarou in the Henderson division. So we will wrap that up this week, and then ultimately we will have the Interleague Championship, which consists of the best team coming from the St. George area and playing against our neighbors to the south in the Henderson area. So that will be held, I believe that is a week from this Saturday.
I think it's November 23rd.
November 23rd. Yeah. So there you have it, folks. That's going to be a big weekend. It's always super cool. Meet the Vegas parents, meet the Henderson people. Yeah. They love what we're doing down there. They can't speak highly enough about it, and it's kind of fun to see the difference in competition coming from an area where hockey's a little bit more established in Henderson, and whereas we're kind of trying to grow that here in St. George. But really, it's good competition. It's good fun. The parents have a lot of fun with it, and so if the kids are having fun, the parents are having fun. We're having fun.
Absolutely. So. No, it's awesome. And then as new people are starting to wonder how do we get involved, and that's young kids. It's high schoolers. And then even young adults to older adults, right? If you can run, you can play.
Correct, exactly.
So that's pretty much it. And we'll continue to post more information for the spring season. Yep. But if you're just curious too, come to JC Snow Park Tuesdays and Thursdays between 5:30 and 9:30, and you can watch the kids play beginning and then ending with the adults. So again, it's a lot of fun, and if you want to sign up and you want to play next season, we'll have everything for you to get going. But no, thanks, Tommy. That's awesome. So with new watchers, new listeners, new fans to the game, again, this is going to be our segment of rules of the game. So we again are encouraging the education, and then providing just more insight to you as a viewership, so you have a better understanding when you are watching games. It doesn't matter if it's a Utah Hockey Club game or if it is going to be a Iron County Yeti junior game.
Right.
So with that, we're going to focus in on a couple things. One is line changes, and you will see that, again, hockey is different than most sports. Like basketball, you have your subs, your rotations. Volleyball, the same thing, rotations. Right. Football, you have an offensive line, a defensive line. You have different segments. So hockey, we have our 4 lines and 3 sets of D.
Right.
Okay. And so you'll always see continuous line changing. Okay. And so, Tommy, what I want you to tell our listeners and viewers is, when should a player change? Like, what's that sweet spot? And then what are the repercussions if you're out too late?
Yeah, so ultimately, kind of I think the sweet spot that we always found, especially in our level of hockey, was anywhere from 35 to 45 seconds. Yeah. If you're any more than that, that's typically when you start to get tired, or if you get pinned down in your zone. And that's ultimately why we're going over this, is the importance of smart changes. The best time to change, not only in the form of time, is where is the puck in play? Mm-hmm. If I'm in my defensive zone trying to get the puck out, that would be a poor time to change, because ultimately it's going to leave my team down one person and it's going to give the other team an advantage. So a lot of times what you'll see is when a team dumps the puck into the offensive zone that they're going to attack, you'll start to see those rotations start to happen right on the fly there. And if you don't get off in those opportune moments, or those opportune, 35 to 45 second shifts, they can start to bleed into the 1 minute 30s, the 2 minute shifts. Before you know it, you're tired. Mm-hmm. Well, if you've got one tired skater out there, chances are the other 4 out there are also pretty tired. Yeah. You're going to give up mistakes. You're going to give up opportunities to the other team. You're probably going to leave your goalie hanging there in some kind of way, shape, or form. And ultimately, when you get back to the bench, you're also going to get an earful from the coaches.
Absolutely. And the reason I bring this up, Tommy, is because last week we talked about the Vegas Golden Knights and the Utah Hockey Club game, which, as a result, was of guys being on the ice for too long.
Correct.
And if you guys can always go back, everything's always on video on demand. So if you want to go back and watch that overtime of Vegas and Utah Hockey Club, this is exactly what we're talking about. Utah Hockey Club, they got hemmed in. Guys were on the ice for too long. You had a forward playing defense who doesn't know what they were doing. And then Vegas had a shift change. They got fresh legs on the ice and then had the attack and took full advantage of it. So that was a beautiful analysis. And that's why we want to keep, and whenever you're playing, you keep your shift between that 35 to 45 seconds, which also then goes into your training, right? So when you're working on your off-ice training, you can work on 35, 45 seconds and then getting into a minute. So then you know that when you're reaching your peak at that minute, it's time to change.
Absolutely.
So, no, that's awesome. And then when it comes to changing, Tommy, right, we have obviously different positions. So for new viewers and new listeners, how do players know who to change for?
So just like you said, we had the 4 lines of forwards. We have the 3 lines of D. You will actually get a lineup sheet when you're in the locker room before you go out there, and that will tell you what line that you're playing on. Typically, instead of writing it in the form of names, they write it in the form of numbers. Just a lot easier for everyone to understand it that way. So if you're on a line at the beginning of the game, chances are you're going to stay on that line throughout the game unless something happens like an injury or coach wants to shake something up. So if you're on the first line, if the coach says, hey, first line, you're going, that's when you know you're getting ready to go. The other thing that comes into it as well is those shift changes that are on the fly, meaning they happen while the puck is still in play. You're also going to go out there for individual players that are similar to your position, because then it keeps everything smooth. We don't have any defensive breakdowns or or a miscommunication that could lead to potentially too many men on the ice or too many women on the ice if you're playing the women's game.
Yep.
Those are the key things. You got to know who's up next, which your coach will tell you, and then you as a player have to know the responsibility. Okay, if I'm playing center, who's playing center tonight? All right, I'm going out for them. And the key thing there, communication. Always be talking on your bench. You'll see the players do that quite a bit. And if you get going in a good momentum kind of pace, it comes out really smooth. And just the opposite, if you start to kind of trip over yourself a little bit, you're going to put yourself in negative situations, and ultimately the puck ends up on the back of your net.
Yeah, so. No, absolutely. And with that too, you mentioned the whistle versus changing on the fly, right? And so when you see the players consistently going on and off, that they're changing on the fly, so they know exactly who they're taking, whether it's left wing, right wing, center. And then the face-offs, that's when you start to see those line changes or on the whistle. And then when you have those whistle changes, we're now going to talk about having home ice advantage.
Right.
Okay. And when you start to see a game, and especially if a puck, the face-off is in offensive zone, okay, and let's say that the home team, okay, is attacking, okay, but right now they have their third line against their fourth line. Well, home team has last change.
Right.
So you'll see that the home team will then make a last-minute change. What's the reason for that? Why do teams make those like last-minute changes, or why do they try to match a line?
Yeah, so what you want to do is create what's called a mismatch. And ultimately, again, I believe we went over this in the second episode, but different lines have different roles on the ice. And typically what you're going to see in a common structure is your top two lines are going to be your scoring lines. Your third and fourth lines are going to be more of the defensive, grind it out, finish your checks, be defensively sound.
Meat and potatoes kind of thing.
Correct, exactly. Very, very basic.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm the home team and I have the last change and I notice that a third or a fourth line's being left out there and I have a chance to put my best players against that, I'm creating that mismatch, ultimately hoping that I get the opportunity that they're going to be caught slipping. We ultimately get a scoring chance or a scoring opportunity, or if you're lucky enough, it ends up in the back of their net.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the line changes, especially late in a game, can be detrimental, especially with the line matching.
Right.
Who's on the ice, who's not on the ice. So that's where coaching plays a huge role in how you're managing your bench,
right,
how you're managing your players. And then from there is knowing the opposing team as well, too. So.
Right.
Very good stuff. So with line changes, like we said, you're going to see the consistent on and off, but those guys are always rotating for their position. So it's not just a random, I'm getting off and then the random guy goes on.
Right.
It's all structured. Just like Tommy mentioned, you have your line sheets, and then you know who you're changing for.
Right.
So for example, let's say we're both center,
right,
okay, and I'm out on the ice. Well, coach will say, all right, Rupp, your line's up. And then he'll be like, okay, I got Goche. So then if the play's going around, and I call, hey, I'm coming to the bench. Someone yells, hey, Goche's coming.
Yep.
Rupper goes,
yep,
I got him.
I got him.
So it's those little things that, again, you'll see in the game because it moves so fast. We want you to understand why it's moving so fast, because those line changes are getting fresh legs, because 45 seconds is a typical shift.
Yep.
Perfect. So awesome. This was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
We tied in things from previous episodes, which is actually the goal, because it's education.
Right.
So then you can go back and, like we talked about, Utah Hockey Club and the Vegas Golden Knights and how that goes into line changes and staying out too long. Tommy, what do you want to leave us with? I know we have the quote you're gonna send us off with, but closing statements?
Yeah, so the first thing, obviously, our fundraiser through Snap wrapped up this week, so I just want to say one more thank you to everyone who donated that, or donated to that, or helped share that.
Yeah, huge thank you.
Yep, we raised about $7,600, something like that, so that's huge for our program. Again, just the generosity of people never ceases to amaze me. I'm really pumped on that. And then the closing thought that I will leave you today, or the closing quote, it's a quote by Eric Lindros. It's not necessarily the amount of time you spend at practice that counts. It's what you put into the practice. And what that means, just like we were going over with shift times being between 35 and 45 seconds. And Gabe saying, well, now you know what to work into your practicing as you're working out. That's practicing with a purpose. That is taking something that it's a skill you want to work on, but you're also implementing it in what would be considered a real life game time situation. I'm a big believer in visualization, especially before games. Those are the kind of things that when you're at home, don't just shoot pucks or shoot balls just to shoot balls. If you want to incorporate something that's a real life situation, maybe it's a quick stick handle and you want to shoot quick as you're running forward or as you're skating forward, get a little bit quickness on the shot that way. Maybe it is working in, some burpees or, some high kind of flying kind of, what's the word I'm looking
plyometrics.
for? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, get a little bit of workout sprinkled in there, get the heart rate up a little bit. And then what that'll do, it'll correlate to a game. And believe it or not, I promise you this, in your next 2-3 outings, you'll have that situation happen as you're out there and you will score and you're going to go, man, I'm glad I practiced that.
Yep, absolutely. And I love the closing statement. Eric Lindros was actually one of my dad's favorite players growing up. And, it was funny too, just with the story of Lindros and not wanting to play for the Quebec Nordiques and then getting traded and all this stuff, like a dynamic player, but it's about the work ethic. It's what you're putting in and day out. And you talk about the repetition of shooting, right? Just don't shoot to shoot with a purpose.
Right.
And it goes back to me being a kid. And I remember my dad would hang Frisbees on the net because we didn't have a shooter tutor like your beautiful one, but hang Frisbees. But what the goal was is I would lock in and I'd hit those Frisbees 3-4 times in a row and then move on, right? So it would be getting into a habit, getting into that muscle memory, but just continuing to practice with a purpose.
Absolutely.
So Tommy, thank you, man. It was another great episode. Don't forget to like the episode, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and stay tuned for next episode. But again, thank you everyone for watching. This is Gabe Gauthier, Tommy Rupp for the Southern Utah Hockey Report. Take care.
See you at the rink, y'all.